Welcome back to Top 10 Magazine. My name is Tom, and in this video, we're going to delve into one of the most fascinating aspects of human history, cannibalism. Number 1. The Donner Party, 1846 to 1847. The Donner Party was a group of American pioneers who set out for California from Illinois in 1846, but became stranded in the Sierra Nevada mountains during a harsh winter. The group consisted of 87 members, including men, women, and children. After several failed attempts to reach their destination, the group became trapped in the mountains due to heavy snowfall. Food supplies ran low, and some members resorted to cannibalism to survive. Reports suggest that at least some of the group members were willing participants in the act, while others were forced to consume human flesh to stay alive. Of the original 87 members, only 48 survived. The incident gained national attention and became a subject of public fascination, leading to numerous books, movies, and other cultural depictions. The Donner Party tragedy is often cited as a cautionary tale about the dangers of westward expansion and the harsh realities of survival in the wilderness. Number 2. The Andes Flight Disaster, 1972. The Andes Flight Disaster occurred on October 13, 1972, when a Uruguayan rugby team's plane crashed in the Andes Mountains while en route to a match in Chile. The crash killed 29 of the 45 passengers on board. The survivors were stranded in the mountains for over 2 months, enduring freezing temperatures and limited food supplies. After several failed attempts to find help, some members of the group resorted to cannibalism to survive. In December 1972, 2 of the survivors, Nando Paredo and Roberto Canessa, hiked for 10 days to find help, eventually encountering a Chilean shepherd who alerted authorities. When rescuers arrived at the crash site, they found only 16 of the original 45 passengers still alive. The Andes flight disaster gained widespread attention due to the horrific conditions the survivors endured and their desperate measures to stay alive. Several books, movies, and documentaries have been made about the incident, including the 1993 film Alive. Number 3. The Aztec Empire, 14th to 16th centuries. The Aztec Empire, which existed from the 14th to the 16th centuries in what is now Mexico, practiced ritualistic cannibalism as part of their religious beliefs. The Aztecs believed that their gods needed to be appeased through blood sacrifices, which sometimes included human sacrifice. During human sacrifice ceremonies, the Aztecs would capture prisoners of war or other individuals to be sacrificed, and in some cases, the flesh of the victims would be consumed as part of the ritual. The Aztecs believed that consuming the flesh of the sacrificed individuals would imbue them with the power of the gods and help them gain favor with the deities. Accounts of Aztec cannibalism were recorded by Spanish conquistadors, who saw it as evidence of the barbarity of the indigenous peoples they encountered. However, it is worth noting that the practice of human sacrifice and cannibalism was not unique to the Aztecs and was also practiced by other cultures in Mesoamerica. Number 4. The Armin Meiwes Case, 2001. The Armin Meiwes Case, also known as the Rotenburg Cannibal Case, is a notable case of cannibalism that occurred in Germany in 2001. Meiwes, a computer technician, had a fascination with cannibalism and had been searching online for willing volunteers to be killed and eaten. Bernd Jürgen Armando Brandes, a man from Berlin, responded to Meiwes' online advertisement and agreed to be killed and eaten. Meiwes killed Brandes in his home, filmed the murder, and consumed parts of his body over the course of several months. The case gained international attention and raised ethical and legal questions about internet activity, mental health, and cannibalism. Meiwes was arrested and sentenced to life in prison for the murder and consumption of Brandes. The case is considered one of the most notorious examples of cannibalism in modern times and has been the subject of numerous books, documentaries, and movies. The incident also sparked discussions about the regulation of internet content and the responsibility of internet service providers to monitor user activity. Number 5. The Siege of Leningrad, 1941 to 1944. The Siege of Leningrad, which occurred during World War II, is considered one of the most devastating sieges in history. The city of Leningrad, now known as St. Petersburg, which was a major industrial and cultural center in the Soviet Union, was surrounded by German forces from September 1941 until January 1944. During the siege, the city was cut off from outside supplies and faced severe shortages of food and other essential items. It is estimated that over 1 million people died during the siege, with many succumbing to starvation and disease. As conditions worsened, reports of cannibalism began to emerge, with some residents resorting to eating the flesh of the dead to survive. The Soviet government suppressed reports of cannibalism and punished those who engaged in the practice. The Siege of Leningrad is remembered as a tragic event in Soviet history, and the survivors of the siege are honored as heroes who endured unimaginable suffering and sacrifice. The event also highlights the extreme conditions that can lead to acts of desperation and survival cannibalism.
Don't forget to like and share this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to our channel for more top 10 videos like this one. Number 6.
The Fore people of Papua New Guinea, 20th century. The Fore people of Papua New Guinea were known to practice ritualistic cannibalism as part of their cultural and religious traditions until the mid-20th century. The Fore believed that consuming the flesh of deceased members of their community, particularly those who had died from disease, would help to cleanse the body of impurities and allow the deceased person's spirit to live on. This practice was tied to the Fore's beliefs about the relationship between the living and the dead and was seen as a way to show respect for the deceased. However, the practice was also believed to contribute to the spread of a disease called kuru, which was a type of transmissible spongiform encephalopathy similar to mad cow disease. Kuru was transmitted through the consumption of infected brain and nervous tissue, which was often part of the human flesh consumed in cannibalistic rituals. The practice of cannibalism among the Fore declined in the 1950s after the spread of kuru was linked to the consumption of human flesh, and the Fore began to adopt new burial practices to avoid the spread of the disease. Today, the Fore people have largely abandoned the practice of cannibalism and have become a part of modern Papua New Guinea society. Kuru has also largely disappeared due to the decline of cannibalism and improved medical treatment. Number 7. The Wari tribe of Brazil, 20th century. The Wari tribe of Brazil is another example of a group that practiced cannibalism as part of their cultural and religious traditions until the 20th century. The Wari believed that consuming the flesh of their enemies, particularly those who had been killed in battle, would help to gain strength and power. The practice of cannibalism was also seen as a way to humiliate and degrade the enemy, as well as to prevent their spirit from seeking revenge. The Wari would typically remove and cook the arms, legs, and torso of the deceased, while the head was used for ceremonial purposes. The Wari tribe was largely isolated from outside influences until the 1960s when contact was made with outsiders. This contact led to a decline in the practice of cannibalism, as the Wari were exposed to new ideas and beliefs. Today, the Wari have largely abandoned the practice of cannibalism and have become integrated into modern Brazilian society, although some cultural practices, including their language and traditional dances, continue to be practiced. Number 8. The Nuremberg Trials, 1945 to 1946. The Nuremberg Trials were a series of military tribunals held by the Allied forces after World War II to prosecute prominent leaders of Nazi Germany for war crimes, crimes against peace, and crimes against humanity. During the trials, evidence was presented of atrocities committed by the Nazis, including the mass murder of Jews, Romani people, homosexuals, and other groups deemed undesirable by the Nazi regime. The trials also uncovered evidence of cannibalism, particularly in the concentration camps, where prisoners were often subjected to brutal conditions and forced to resort to extreme measures to survive. Several defendants, including Karl Brandt, a prominent physician in the Nazi regime, were charged with participating in medical experiments on concentration camp prisoners that involved amputations, sterilization, and the consumption of human flesh. The Nuremberg Trials were a landmark event in international law and marked the first time that individuals were held accountable for crimes against humanity. The trials also highlighted the atrocities committed by the Nazis during World War II and underscored the importance of respecting human rights and the dignity of all people. Number 9. The Jamestown Colony, 1609 to 1610. The Jamestown Colony was one of the first permanent English settlements in North America, established in 1607 in what is now Virginia. The colony faced many challenges, including conflicts with Native Americans, harsh weather conditions, and a lack of supplies. In 1609, a supply ship from England was delayed, and the colony was faced with a severe winter without enough food to sustain themselves. As a result, some colonists resorted to cannibalism to survive. Accounts from the time suggest that at least one man was killed and eaten by his fellow colonists. Some reports also suggest that colonists may have dug up and eaten corpses from the settlement's graveyard. The Jamestown Colony's experience with cannibalism was a grim reminder of the harsh realities of colonial life and the desperate measures that people may take in extreme circumstances. Number 10. The Alferd Packer Case, 1874. The Alferd Packer Case is a notorious example of cannibalism in the American West. In 1873, Packer led a group of prospectors into the Colorado mountains in search of gold. However, the group became lost and stranded in the winter wilderness without enough food to survive. After several months, Packer returned alone to a nearby town, claiming that the other members of the group had died of natural causes. However, when authorities investigated, they found evidence that Packer had killed and cannibalized his fellow prospectors. Packer was eventually tried and convicted of murder and sentenced to death. However, his sentence was later commuted to 40 years in prison. The case became infamous in part due to Packer's shifting and inconsistent accounts of what had happened, as well as the sensationalized media coverage. The Alferd Packer case remains a cautionary tale about the dangers of exploration and survival in the wilderness, as well as the lengths that some individuals may go to survive.
Want to see more top 10 videos like this one? Subscribe now and join our community.